Welcome everyone to the Resilient Minds podcast. I am extremely excited, very blessed, and very honored to welcome Marisha Lakhiani from MindValley, the Chief Growth Officer, an amazing woman that is really blazing up a storm with her authenticity, her grace, her kindness, and her wisdom. And I'm excited to really have more of you listen to this amazing woman, how she's expressing herself, how she's shining, but most importantly, how she continues to just be a pivotal model of what's possible for marketing, for artists, and bringing that together. So first of all, I just want to say thank you for coming on the show. Welcome. It's good to see you.
I'm so happy to be here. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous, as I told you before, because I'm so used to receiving a set of questions from podcasts, but this is the only one where I'm not prepared. But as you said, let's go with the flow. Let's see what happens. I'm sure it's going to be amazing.
Well, I love it because it's funny because so many people, like whenever they come on my podcast, they're actually always asking for those questions, and I say no, sorry, there's no questions coming. The questions are coming through because it's about people getting to know you, people getting to really feel you, people getting to, well, even for you to feel yourself, and it becomes this authentic, vulnerable expression of knowing how to really tap into this intuitive behavior that I know that you're so very well aware of. And so this magic, this art and science, and I'll share with everybody that may have not heard a little bit about the dynamism behind you. And so for those of you that don't know Marisha, she blends the art and science to really craft out and stand out in the marketing world, developing solutions and cultivating those solutions. As MindValley's Chief Growth Officer, she really pioneers strategies from product launches to cutting edge acquisition models. But recognize most importantly, like I said, for her as her captivating awareness and her amazing presence, she's really a trusted advisor for a lot of great artists and leaders. And she brings out her passion for business as she continues to shine. So I'm excited because this is something that I know it wasn't something you just stepped into. It's something that really developed and expanded as you learned more about yourself. So take us back. I always share is like our experiences of life will really help us cultivate our why, our big purpose. And so what was it at the beginning of your journey that has allowed you to expand on your experience, to step deeper into curiosity of marketing, of your artistic expression, your shine, your passion, to now being this amazing growth officer that you are?
Oh my God, it's been such an incredible journey. So when I was a kid, I wanted to be a couple of things, but my parents always told me that I would never be able to be those things. So at one point I wanted to be a scientist because I wanted to invent new things and change the world. And my parents were like, how many scientists do you know in the world? Like, what are the odds of you creating something that's going to be game changer? Like, fair point. Okay. Then I wanted to be an artist. I said, I want to be an interior designer because I really love design and I love, just curation. My mom was like, you won't be making money. I feel like I don't think this is a profession. And this is back in the day, right? So I don't blame them. They were just trying to choose the best profession for me. And then I don't know what I was trying to test them or I was serious. But at one point I even wanted to be a race car driver. I was like, Mom, I want to be a Formula One driver. Like, I love car racing. I just love everything about cars. And my mom's like, have you ever seen a woman race car driver? There's like absolutely zero race car drivers back in the day. Like, all of them are men. And so that didn't work out either. So I just kept wanting to do all of these things, but then not getting any support from my parents. And then one of my family members told me that I should just get into business because at the end of the day, I can build and create anything, and I can go down any path. I can choose later depending on what I want to do, right? But it felt more like I had an entrepreneurial spirit, because when I was 6, I was actually designing t-shirts and selling them. Then I created an eBay store where I was selling like Lego and Star Wars kits, Star Wars memorabilia. So I would go around the world searching for Star Wars memorabilia. This is like when I was 7, 9, 10. And I would sell the memorabilia to like Jeff Bezos, Gus Lopez, George Lucas, like all of these guys. And then I had an eBay store where I would buy clothes and books and things like that, and I would sell it at like 400 to 600% markup. So I was making a salary, like an income when I was 10, 11. So for me, money was like, it comes, it goes, it doesn't matter, you know? Like if I spend it today, I will make more tomorrow. Like that's my that was my association with money. So I always had an entrepreneurial spirit. So my family advised me to take on business, which I did. And then I graduated and I couldn't get a job anywhere. So I went around, I just knew that I wanted to create something for myself. So I made a business plan. I went around to banks. I went around to investors, partners, trying to get someone to fund my idea. And it was just like zero, like no one is believing in me at this point. And then a few meetings here and there led me to a business partner, which, and I did a few things in between where I was like doing real estate. I was doing a whole bunch of different things. But it led me to a business partner of mine that introduced me to a few other guys. And then we started an app together. So we started this app called Stemple. And Stemple was like a mobile loyalty program. And back then in Malaysia, this is like ahead of its time. So we had localized to like 6 different languages. It was in Greece. It was in Taiwan. It was in Thailand. It was in Malaysia. It was in a few countries. We had localized it. And it was basically just to give small, medium entrepreneurs or businesses a mobile presence. So they could collect data from people entering their stores. They could, send them SMSs. They could run promotions to them. So it gave them that mobile presence, which was really expensive to have or develop for yourself, So we did that. It was really successful, but I didn't get along with my partners. So the story is all this time. We weren't agreeing. I was the youngest of the partners. I was the only woman. So almost all my ideas were getting shut down. But my ideas were, now that I think about it, were actually quite forward thinking. I wanted to develop a community. I wanted to make it a subscription. I wanted to have a social element to it. That means you make it shareable. I can share rewards with some friends. I can, I can make plans and create events together with other people on the app. So all of this was like, I think it was too ahead of its time. But they just kept rejecting all these ideas. And then I just sold my share and I decided to move part ways. When I decided to part ways, I lost my business. So basically, I lost my dream. This was my dream. I was building it. It was like 5 years into it, and it was like my baby, because when you
And when was this? Like how long ago?
It was a while. It was just before MindValley. I can't remember all the dates. The dates are all skewed up in my head. But maybe like 15 years ago. I've been MindValley for like 7 years now. So it was that time, and then I sold the share, and then I was thinking about what to do next, but it felt like I lost a part of me because that was my identity, right? Like it's something that I poured my heart and soul into. I was doing this like day in, day out. And I'm an obsessive compulsive person. Like when I'm into something, I'm obsessive. Like there's no time switching off. There's no 9 to 5. It's like, oh, this is all I want to do. And at that time, I lost my business, and then I lost my mom. So my mom passed away, and my mom was like my everything. I can't even tell you. She was like my best friend. She was my child. She was my mom, my sister, she had like 20 roles in one, right? And I lost her, and I didn't know how to deal with grief and literally that was the one thing that I kept telling people, that if my biggest fear was losing my parents, that was my biggest fear, because I didn't think I'll be able to deal with that,
I can resonate.
And it was really hard time. And that time I felt like I was at my absolute low. Like there was just nowhere lower to go, because I wasn't able to think clearly. I didn't feel inspired. I didn't feel creative. I didn't want to socialize. Like it was like absolute freaking lowest of low that any human being can experience. So that time I decided to just do 9 to 5. I was like, okay, so I need to build myself back up. This is going to take some time. I need to build myself back up. But how can I be surrounded by people that can inspire me? So I chose MindValley because I knew people that worked in MindValley, and I knew the culture of MindValley, and I knew that if anything, what I would get out of it is I would get like amazing friendships, and I would be inspired by the people that I was around, because the people there are game changer. People in MindValley, they don't just do MindValley. Some of them are Forbes 30 under 30. Some of them have their own startups. Some of them are influencers for Adobe. They want like some guys want to see 6 CBS awards. That they're not like normal people. You know what I mean? They're game changers. So what a way to live life than to surround yourself by people doing this. So they are raising the bar, and then you can raise your bar, right? Because at the end of the day, I really believe you're the average of the people you hang out with. And if you're going to hang out with people that are just operating at this level, that's the level you're going to operate at. But if you start to hang out with people that are operating and then thinking at this level and solving bigger problems, that's how your brain is going to work, right? So moved to join MindValley. When I first joined, my manager told me I was the worst employee they ever had, and they wanted to fire me. So it started off like that, and I was on the verge of quitting. So this is me deciding, okay, sitting in bed crying, deciding if I should quit or if I should just persevere and continue and just prove them wrong. And then I decided that if I'm a quitter now, I'm always going to be a quitter. Like if every time something gets hard and I'm going to quit, that's who I become, because I just run away from my problems, right? But what I decided to do is I decided to persevere. So I decided to work the hardest and stand out. And so my goal was to make sure that every single person voted for me for the next MVP awards. So they have these awards where the team votes for people that they feel had the biggest impact on the business. So I didn't want one person to say it. I wanted the entire company to say that I was one of the top contributors to the company. So I worked my ass off. And then when I started working my ass off, I started getting recognized and promoted and all of those things. And then 7 years later in MindValley, I think it's 7 years, 6 or 7 years.
Wow.
Now I'm just leading the entire marketing team. I'm like the right hand of vision. Like I'm known in the space because of all the decisions, a lot of the transitions that MindValley's encountered. When I first joined MindValley, it was doing like 30 million. Now it's doing close to 200 million. So it's been like a long journey, right? And it's self-funded. That means we don't have the liberty to spend investor dollars and burn through cash. We don't have that. We have to make and invest and make really smart decisions, because every dollar that we spend is actually our money that we could have spent on something else, So we have to be very mindful and careful with what we're investing in, what ideas we're banking on, how are we scaling, how are you growing the team? Everything has to be really strategic. That's the journey.
Wow. So beautiful. And I have so much things I can't wait to go deeper into, because there's just like bits and pieces of so much gold on your own journey, and the focus, the delivery, and the deliberate intention that you curated in yourself to, first of all, 15 years ago, be very forward thinking. So the first thing that I really wanted to go into is, do you think that just because you were so forward thinking and you had this foresight, right? And if more of your partners would have actually paid attention and listened to the words and the intentional realism that was coming from your groundedness, from the way that you're able to create a solid plan and strategically implement that, perhaps something could have shifted. And is that a pattern that maybe in 15 years ago, from that wounded masculine approach of patriarchal misrepresentation, was something that was being delivered in that experience? And how do you see that now have shifted 15 years later to where you are today?
So I think at that time, I was a lot younger. So it wasn't like I had multiple startups. So I actually didn't believe in myself as much as I should have. Because the truth is, if you really believe in yourself, you really believe in your ideas, you would push them through. And you need to believe in yourself a lot more, and people need to believe in themselves a lot more, right? So at that time, I don't actually blame anyone. I think it was more me. It was me not having the faith in myself, not having the faith in my ideas, thinking they're good ideas, but not really 100% banking on them. Because if you're really 100%, you can see some of the game changers out there in the world, when they really believe in an idea, they're willing to go to the ends of the earth to fight for that idea, to turn it into a reality. But I just didn't believe it. I don't think I believed in it as much. I didn't think I believed in myself as much, right? But then I feel like that
Do you
whole
think
experience.
so? Do you think it's because, I'm sorry to interrupt,
Yeah, yeah.
it just came through. Do you think the reason that you didn't believe in yourself is because the people around you didn't believe in themselves?
Possibly, but I felt like they did believe in themselves.
Okay.
But I don't think that they understood their customer base. So there's believing in themselves and the idea, and they thinking that I've done this. There's a sense of confidence because they've done this multiple times. They've sold multiple companies, so they have a track record, right? So they understand business, but then understanding business is one thing. Understanding the consumer base and where the market is going is a completely different skill set. Not necessarily every entrepreneur has both. So a lot of entrepreneurs build products that make sense for themselves. They don't build products that make sense for their customer. So they don't even spend time talking to their customer. The difference is that I was on the ground and I was speaking to merchants and customers, and they were doing more of the back end stuff. So because of that, I felt like they were not in the best place to make the calls on the business. But that's just entrepreneurship, right? Most entrepreneurs fail for this absolute reason. It's because they don't spend a lot of time really understanding, listening to people from different parts of the company, really understanding the customer, talking to the customer. It's the mistakes that they all make. And I don't think there's a right or wrong. I just feel like if you were to spend more time doing these things, you probably would be able to see a clearer picture of what's going on and what could be the vision of your business, right? But they had this confidence because they were successful, and I had the confidence in them because they were successful and they'd done this multiple times, and I had it, right? But the difference was I had the knowledge from the customers. I had exactly what they wanted, where the market was going, how people our age were consuming and interacting and communicating on Facebook, on Instagram, things like that. So the thing was, I just couldn't sell them on that idea. They didn't see that vision. They didn't see the vision of subscription. They didn't see the vision of community. So we just had to part ways because it felt like I was hitting a wall, and it felt really frustrating just to feel like when you're in partnership with someone, because entrepreneurship is like, and building a business is like a marriage as well, right? If you're not on the same page, you're not building the vision together, you don't see the future, the same future of the business, you cannot build it together. It's almost impossible. So at that point, I decided to exit and do my own thing. But then what that did is that it gave me a whole ton of learning on how to push my ideas forward, how to work with partners, how to choose the right partner, all of those things, which now I have other businesses and I feel like more able to execute, strategize, and run the business. I feel more confident in my ideas. Like now it's my way. It's kind of my way or the highway.
Well, and it's beautiful because it's like this innovative approach that you've allowed yourself to step into a resilient component or a resilient mind. And what I'm seeing is that you're really observant of the lessons that have taught you to become even stronger.
Yeah, because in life, there is going to be very few people that actually believe in you or see your vision. Very few. There's going to be more people that tell you that your vision's not going to work. It's not big enough. It's not realistic. They're going to be people that just tell you no. And if you're going to listen to every single no, you're going to get nowhere. So if you don't, your only option, literally your only option is to believe in yourself and take the steps that make sense to you. And if they're wrong, it's fine. They're going to teach you something or the other. But as long as they feel right to you, that those are the right steps to take. And you just have to keep moving forward with those steps, right? That's literally the goal of life. And and the problem with us in our generation is we care so much about validation, getting validation from our parents, from our friends, from our partners, bosses, colleagues. We just want everyone's validation. And the truth is, the more validation we try to get, the more that screws up our head and screws up our decision making. So the best thing you can do is, if it feels right, just move.
It's always, there's this beautiful saying, if you're struggling at a table, go build your own. It's something along those lines.
Yeah.
You know, if there's a table that you're not eating at properly, go build your own. And I really resonate with that. I think that, you know, especially from hearing your story of, you know, they wanted to fire you to now, you know, being the chief growth officer, what had to shift there in terms of the culture or in terms of your way to take the ability to respond and being responsible in your own let's call it state, in the state that you showed up in, versus feeling like a victim and then saying, no, they can't, like, I'm going to leave? What changed? What enhanced? How did you say, no, okay, it's fine, you want to push me away, but I'm going to actually work double and harder and enhance this culture?
So I think again I take full ownership of this, right? I felt like the way I was showing up before, I was showing up in a place of, okay, this is a new job. I need to figure this out. I need to learn the ropes. I need to, it was not about, I don't think I was actually taking full ownership of this role and taking full ownership of what I can do with this role or how I can show up with this role. I was just showing up like the average employee, showing up, trying to understand, giving myself time to pick up the roles. Because I wasn't even there like 6 months. I was there like 3 months, 4 months. So I was trying to give myself time and patience to figure things out and like learn the processes. And the processes at that time was a little messy. So there was like, it wasn't even set in stone where it was easy to pick up. I had to like connect the dots in so many ways. So I was giving myself time to do that. But then I guess like where I could have showed up is this, right? So in any given time in life, the choice lies with us, how we show up, what decisions we take, what kind of ownership we take. And at any given time, it's our responsibility to take full ownership, to take full ownership of the mistakes, how we want to show up, how we want to treat other people, how we want to commit or perform in whatever task we're doing or whatever we're undertaking, right? So a lot of us sometimes, and I'm sure you've experienced this before, it's like, okay, I have to work on this project. You might show up, you might do it, you might think about it, but you're not like 100% in it. You're not 100% committed to make it grow. You're not 100% committed. That's because you haven't decided that it's this or nothing. So that time, the only thing that changed was I decided that I was going to make this work there was no way I was not going to make this work. Like I was going to do this better than anyone else on the team. So now for me to do that, and it's like you start off with a vision. So this is what I want to do. So I'm going to be the best person on the team. I'm going to win an MVP award. And I'm gonna be the best. I'm gonna perform like the best, like in terms of like revenue, campaigns, everything. Now, in order to do that, what did I have to do that? It wasn't just doing what they were doing existingly, which is like the same BAU, the same processes, the same style of doing things. I had to do things completely different. So then I started to follow experts, spend my weekends learning, trying new things. I started building the processes for them. I started operating in a different way. Because my goal wasn't just to fit in. My goal was now to be the best. And that happened even after. So after, when I took on like a more senior leadership role, I decided I wanted to be CMO of MindValley. And I just decided. So then I started to work backwards. I said, okay, if I'm going to be CMO of MindValley, what do I have to do different? I have to think like a CMO. I need to be BFFs with the executive team. That means the CFO, the CHRO, all of these guys are my stakeholders. I need to understand what the problems they're trying to solve. I need to understand the challenges they're experiencing. I need to see how I can contribute and solve those challenges. And I need to be in the right conversations, in the exact conversations, because I cannot solve problems at this level and think I'm going to make it to the next level. I need to solve problems at the next level. So I started changing the way I thought. I started changing the problems that I was solving. I started changing the conversations that I was having. I started learning about the conversations CMOs were having. I joined a CMO community. I was already a CMO in my head. And then it was just a matter of time, right? So within the year, I got promoted to CMO. And then I was like, okay, now what do I do? So now I have this little plaque that says CMO.
I love it. Yes. This is good. I love it.
But that's what it's about. It's about you committing to something that means a lot to you. That's a lot of people just don't commit to the dream, or they don't commit to the goal. They think it's a cute idea to be a CEO. They think it's a cute idea to start a company, but they haven't actually committed to it. Committing to it means thinking like the person, making the right decisions, having those conversations, putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, taking risk, constantly learning about that, being in that place. So in a way, if you think about it, it's the same as manifesting. Like manifesting is all like this. It's like you're setting your vibrations to a completely different state, and then you start to manifest all the stuff that you want, So it's similar to that, but you're actually putting in the work. But because you are operating in that headspace and you are solving problems in that headspace, people start to see you as being capable to do those things and, you know, solve those problems.
So, and this is how you started to implement the art and science, and you brought that creativity, that innovation with the metrics and the very grounded level. And so, tell us a little about how important this is if you're a creative that's wanting to really not just manifest, but also an intrapreneur that wants to grow inside of a corporate culture, and maybe even enhance it, because I do believe that from what I'm hearing, it sounds like that culture may have enhanced your ability to grow, and it continues to. And the integration of that level of culture, you know, Peter Drucker, an amazing management consultant, I'm sure you've heard of, said, you know, culture eats strategy for breakfast. Right? So really bridging that, although strategy is very important, it's the human connection that emphasizes a key component of real powerful teamwork. You know, it's like those relationships that you build to understand the needs of what the solutions that you're going to bring to the table. So if somebody is listening right now, whether they're a CEO or entrepreneur, you know, working inside of an organization, or somebody that's an artist that is creative as heck and wants to really be more measurable, because if we don't measure what doesn't get measured, doesn't matter. Or maybe somebody that is very measurable, but they're struggling with the intention of that creativity and they're really wanting to really expand. How did you merge those worlds together in your own brilliance, in your own philosophy, in your own nature, so that as a result, you were able to shine inside of a culture that really empowered you to step through?
So when I joined MindValley, the marketing team had its own culture, right? But every single marketing team had its own culture. So the team that I was part of was like the launch team, the product launch team, but then there was the marketing creatives, there was the SEO team, there was the advertising team. There's just a whole bunch of different marketing teams. But then when I got promoted, I took over all of these teams. So it was like literally Game of Thrones. Took over all of these teams, and now they all had different cultures. So the first thing I needed to do was build a common culture among marketing. So what we did is we aligned on the brand values. So the brand values were co-elevation. Why co-elevation? Because I wanted to operate. I love sportsmanship. And I actually hire a lot of people that play a lot of sports. So they either have jujitsu, they train, they play squash, tennis, some sport, rock climbing, because I feel like when you're an athlete or you think like a sportsman, you have a different level of resilience. Because you're so used to not being the best, that you're always striving to be a little bit better. So that really translates to the work you do. So I love people with that sportsmanship mindset. So co-elevation basically suggests that no one wins. Either we all win or we all lose. Yes. Because of that value, there's no one trying to climb over you or steal your work. No one cares. In fact, if you're not hitting your numbers, like 5 people will jump into a meeting with you, spend the day with you to help you hit your numbers. They will do whatever they can to support you. So that was very important to me, is the values. That one, growth. Growth is important, because if everyone is not growing, because our marketing or our results can only grow to the ability of the team, right? So if the team is not growing, they're not coming with new ideas, they're not taking risks, then we cannot go to another level, because it's still limited by, it's limited to the collective wisdom of the team, you know. So it was very important to me that everyone is growing. And then to grow, one of my values is that I need to train my people so well that they can go anywhere, but I need to treat them so good that they don't want to go. So I hire tons of experts, like AI experts. Every other week or month, there's an expert coming to teach the team. They have access to agencies that they can work with to train them, but I still support the team. So the team says, we need to let go of this agency, or I can't work with this person. The team, like, I'll follow the word of the team, but they have access to hire any expert to train them. So because of that, people on my team get poached from my team for 4x, 5x the salary that I'm paying them. It's mad, because people because they train so well. And then the reason why they go, because they need more money, obviously, but then they're always saying no to job offers, because they're like, and they literally tell me this, like, it's so hard to leave. Like, I don't want to leave. Like, I rather stay here, or they say no to a couple of job offers, and then finally there's one, and it, they align, they get married, life takes over, and they have to leave, right? But they always say that they didn't want to leave because of the culture of the team and because of the friendships they formed within the team. That's so important, right? Because now it's not just work, it's actually family. That, and then ownership. So ownership is the fact that I give you the freedom. You can come up with disruptive ideas. You can take the risk, and if anything goes wrong, I will take the responsibility of that risk. If anything goes right, you can bear you can reap the rewards of the risk, so that they know I have their back, right? But not failing or not trying new things is just not an option. So that way they take full ownership of decisions they make. So if there's something works well, they innovate, they manage to break a record, they take full ownership of it. If it goes bad, I'll take full ownership of it. But because of that, they have now the freedom to play around, express themselves, come up with new things, come up with new ideas.
It feels safe.
It feels safer. So those three values. Now the thing is that I had to make sure that I didn't hire anyone that didn't meet these values. That was the hard part. So not letting, because sometimes I meet brilliant people and they've worked in like amazing companies, but they just don't meet these values. So what do? The answer is just don't let them in your company, because one person that doesn't match these values can ruin the entire team culture, right? So it was about kind of making sure they adhere to the values, and then that kind of kept the team kind of safe, protected, and they felt motivated, because now the entire A players don't like working with B players or C players. They like working with other A players. So because of that, now the team is full of A players and they love working with one another. They always get inspired working, hearing each other's ideas. They're always trying to test new things. They're always wanting to go to different conferences, pick up ideas. So they're always leveling up. And it's crazy how many records they're breaking. Literally, my CEO told me this is the best marketing team he's ever had in MindValley, hands down.
And that's amazing, because that comes from your level of integration through your own value, through the way that you've been able to lead by example. And that's real. From my map of the world, the example is where people really want to lead. And the fact that you're willing to hold the space of ultimate safety, meaning that, when people feel seen, heard, and understood, they'll step into a place of complete excitement, because even if they do leave, they're not really gone, right? They're still friends, they're still family, they're still implementing the dynamism which you've brought to the table in a different culture, in a different environment. And that's been an extension or an expression of who you are and how you've been. And that's a huge testament to you, Marisha. It's beautiful. This wisdom, you see, and do you see how natural it is to come out the flow? It's so beautiful, because I find that in our own essence or in our own stories, we're able to really come up with this wisdom that we don't necessarily sometimes take enough credit for. And in the space of not knowing what is going to happen, it usually emerges and it shows up. And it's interesting, because so many of us have been conditioned by, old circumstance or societal, that we need to know what's next. And I really genuinely believe that it is in the present moment that we actually start to innovate and collaborate and co-elevate, and we bring these family values that you've so beautifully done inside of your marketing department. And as a result, the CEO has seen the transition in the way and the nature of how it's continued to grow. Because from what I see and the way that I observe, is like you're basing the integrity of principles and values at the highest level of influence. And as a result, people get behind that, because it's not about anybody, it's about something greater. And this is something that I really, I'm grateful for seeing in you. And I'm curious, where did this come from? Where did these principles, these values, this feeling of responsibility come from within you, or your experience of life?
I honestly think it was just pure intention. So I had the purest intention of wanting the people on my team to succeed. So I'm the kind of person who's always fighting for raises for my team, but will never ask for a raise for myself. I'm always fighting for benefits or recognition for my team, but I would never ask for it for myself. But that's because I feel like my work will show for itself, but I genuinely feel like I really need to take care of the people that are around me. So whether it's my family, my friends, or whether it's people at work, they need to feel that. And I think that because they see that intention is so pure and so genuine, they know that I have their back, like in work or outside work as well, that they trust me back. And then they want me to shine, and then they want to do things to support me. So if I feel overwhelmed, maybe there's one day where I go to the team and I say, okay, I'm really overwhelmed this week, I have a lot on my plate. They'll literally raise their hand and say, hand me some stuff, let me take this on for you. Or don't attend this meeting, let me take this over, I'll fill you in later. Or you don't worry, take a day off and send me this, I'll look into it for you. So, and that kind of relationship is really, really important. Because at the end of the day, this is a job, you can't, it's a job, but I'm spending like literally my full day, like I spend more than 8 hours with these people. So I'm spending more than 8 hours with these people. I need to have much more of a deeper relationship with these people, right? Because I need to trust them. I need to feel connected to them. I need to feel, and they need to feel the same. They need to feel safety, trust, connection. And the way to do that is that every time I do something, I make a decision. I always make a decision with authentic, like, intention for the betterment of the team. That means everyone has to win. The team has to win. It should not be at anyone's expense. So when you make these decisions, they actually tend to be the right decisions because it helps build a stronger team, and they want to serve you. They want to work harder for you. They see the end goal. They see the vision of where you're trying to take the company, and they want to align to that vision. So people in my team will be working weekends, they'll be doing webinars at 3 a.m. and they'll never say a word to me, never complain. They're actually really excited about how they're contributing to the larger picture.
That's why, because they're contributing to the larger picture. So what I'm actually curious is, you said something about asking for help. That's a state of vulnerability that is beautiful, because you do open up then to then allow them to support and serve you and help you. And I know that that's something that whenever a leader wants to, like, is open and say, hey, I'm tired, or I need help. And sometimes it's the people that are supporting so many others in the world that actually need the most support. And if you're open to that and you're open to be vulnerable, it even shows even more integral leadership. And it's beautiful to see that you're willing to say that, because then you're sharing that you don't need to know everything. That in fact, you're also a student. You're also curious. You're also nurturing that curiosity alongside them.
Yeah, and I think that's 100%. And also it gives people permission to ask for help. Because if I never ask for help, no one will be able to ask for help, right? So this kind of keeps the doors of communication completely open, because then anyone can ask for help. If someone's going through like a hard time in their relationship, or it could be anything. Sometimes they're just going through a hard time and they just need additional support, or they just need some time to think, or they just need some time to rest. And they should be able to come and raise their hand and say, hey, today I'm just not feeling it, and I just need some time to rest. And can someone else jump in for me? And that's part of the value, right? That's co-elevation. It's that we can only win together. So if we're not supporting one another, we're not helping walk it's like the Marines, we're not helping walk each other to the finish line, then we can't win. So that's part of the culture.
How important do you feel like this type of experience or culture is in every industry, in whichever marketplace, across, different places in the world? Like, tell me your thoughts on this, because I'm curious to know, how important do you feel that this is for people, their mental health, their mental wealth, their values, and how they can bring that back to their family dynamics and their communities outside of work? Because you spend 8 hours at a job or at a position, and if this is the type of co-elevated practice that is enhanced within an organizational structure, naturally it's going to transition into other areas of your life. So I'm curious to know your perspective on, the old way of doing things versus now, and maybe there's lots of traditional businesses that still operate in that old way of doing things. And so how important do you feel like that shift needs to happen now?
So I feel the culture is really important. It's important to align on the culture. Now, every company can have different culture based on their values, but it's really important to align on the culture, because you set like kind of becomes like the operating, like the OS operating system of the team. So it builds this kind of synergy between one another and this kind of common understanding between one another. And it also helps you attract the right talent for your organization, right? Because again, I told you, when there's people that if I let someone in that's ultra corporate and feels like they need to climb the corporate ladder, they need to step on, steal someone's work and be toxic and all of these kind of things, it will completely destroy your organization. And you would, like, as a leader that's on the top, and maybe I'm not spending a lot of time with every single person in my team, I might not even realize that until it's too late. So it's really important to set the culture straight, so that way, not only will you have a filtration mechanism to decide who gets in the team, but at least people within the team can spot that this is not in accordance to the culture. Like, this person is acting out of culture, and they can raise the red flags, right? Because that synergy between the team is so important, that it creates a safe space. People they feel like they can communicate freely. They don't feel threatened when they come to work. They don't feel like it's a toxic environment, and then they're highly engaged. There's a reason why a lot of like corporate America complain and are trying to solve employee disengagement. And they're always complaining how employees are getting disengaged with work, and they're not as motivated. They're clocking in their 9 to 5. They can't wait to get out, and they're not enthusiastic about the companies because they don't have friendships within the company. They don't feel safe within the company. Lines of communication are not clear and open. They don't feel like there's radical candor. That means they feel like management is hiding things. It's not like, they don't fully trust what's going on. They don't see the vision of where the team or company is going. And I think that all of this hurts the growth of the team, or the productivity of the team. And if you really want to build a tight engine that works, that's productive, that's a team of A players, then you have to set the foundations, which is the culture.
And how do you feel that this transitions into their family lives and maybe their communities, and the shift into really, because how do you feel that then moves into every other area of their life? Because I'm certain you still have great friends with you're great friends with everybody that has even left, and perhaps those that have left have started to transform other organizations.
Yes. I don't know. I feel like, because we spend 8 hours at work, I feel like we need to, we shouldn't underestimate the impact it has later on, or, or vice versa. Because if you have a bad day at work and your boss shouts at you and you don't feel safe, you hate your job, this is literally what you take home when you're going home to your partner, or when you're raising your kids. This frustration, this anger is what you take home with you, right? But if you had like a really good 8 hours at work and you felt like this doesn't even feel like work, this actually feels like play, then you have this really positive energy that you take home. So it kind of just builds happier, healthier families. And then it's the same both ways. So if you know how to be present when you switch off work, and you know how to be present with your partner when you go home, that energy kind of translates to work. Then you come to work, you're happier. Otherwise, you just go through the spiral of you being pissed at work, taking it home, being pissed at home, taking it to work, and you just become disengaged. So I feel like every part of your life, and that's where as human beings, we need to commit to doing certain things and show up in a certain way, saying that, okay, like here, I'm committing to be like a star employee. I'm committing to give my best and show up when it's my 8 hours, I'm going to do my best here. But when it comes to a home, or when it comes to me participating in sport, or me doing an activity outside, or volunteering or contributing, this is again my 100% here. If not, I'm not going to do it, right? So it's the decision we need to make as human beings, because otherwise we just do everything half-assed. We just show up at work, we just try to do 5 hours to try to clock in, clock out, and that translates to everything. So I feel like when we give employees the space and the freedom and the trust and thing, we're actually giving them permission to just show up and not feeling like they're under attack, or they're going to be second guessed or feeling frustrated. We're giving them the space to just play and have a great time and create and thrive, and that energy kind of gets translated to everything else that they do when it comes to sport, contribution, and family life.
It really is. It's like owning the space as a mother or a father inside of a business, right?
Yeah.
And then also using that motherly fatherly energy in your family dynamic or community dynamic, government dynamic, whatever that is, and as a result it starts to help, let's call it the children, the family, the cousins, the aunties,
Yeah.
however, to be more safe and then expressive and really can communicate and have more fun. And if these values get translated even more to that safe space than to our children, then they can start to go after their capacity of everything that they see as possible because they get nurtured and supported. And you're coming from this place of vibrancy and resilience and excitement because they're like, wow, look at dad or look at mom, like they're going after their dreams, they're coming home and being happy. And I want to do that too, and it gives this beautiful insight because it's not about what we say, it's really how we behave, it's how we react, it's how we're shining or not, that's how we're passing on energy to one another. Do you agree with
Mhm.
this, or how does that feel?
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like now in corporate America, they understand the impact of this. So they're always trying to get like L&D programs for families or for like employees so that they can have like healthier homes. So it's like parenting tools or like, health and fitness tools or, programs that they can do so they feel like healthier and stronger and emotionally more resilient outside work. But they forget sometimes that what is causing it and the stress might be inside work.
Yes.
So it's about really understanding like, what is the employee's day to day and, stress levels and how much fun or, how free do they feel when they're in the job, right? How safe do they feel when they're in the job? And then see how this is actually impacting their personal lives and then vice versa. Because if we can just give them like a really fun 8 hours, that translates to everything that they do after that.
Joy, fun, excitement. And then this is the
Yeah.
thing, like, I remember working in the corporate world after university and like being creative, having all these ideas, wanting to implement them, super focused. And I left university because I didn't leave. When I graduated university, I was part of the student body. I was focusing on creating events for all the student body, making like I was a big geek in the student body, wanting to do good for the students.
Right.
And it was beautiful because I had all these offers lined up, right? And I went into the corporate world and I lasted 6 months because they didn't give me the innovative expression to wanting to really put my energy. They put a limit and a box around me, and I
Yeah.
said no. Like I'm out of here. I gave them like I was, and of course I didn't have the awareness I had. So the kind, I wasn't the most kind at that time. However, I believe that now and in today's day and age, it's our responsibility to really help our future leaders to really be expressive, be innovative, help them feel understood, help them feel seen, help them feel appreciated because they have so many ideas that if we listen to them, that as a result of listening to those ideas and helping them create them, make them happen, then perhaps we'll get to the community side of things like you had the foresight 15 years ago. Perhaps something would have shifted and happened a lot sooner if somebody took the time to actually get curious about what do you mean about that, Marisha? What do you think? How does that actually come together? Can we get more creative about that? If somebody took the time to just listen, who knows? What would how much faster could have we been across in the line? So, and again, everything happens for a reason. I love it and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
uh, uh, I just want to really thank you. Like what is some of the, I know that you've just been traveling, doing a lot of speaking and engaging on the magic of, I know we didn't get into the specifics of measurement and on the show, but I do believe that as a result of this core understanding of what you've developed and the values that you've cultivated, it's really that becomes a byproduct of this. And I believe that this is actually the real intelligence that you bring to the space that you're in.
Yeah. I feel like it's really about doing things with the right intention and taking full ownership for your decisions. I think that's just the magic of the game.
Beautiful. Marisha, if somebody, so where are you headed now? What's next? Like what's
I am
the
going to
next?
Dubai for
Okay,
Affiliate
when you
World.
gonna be?
So I'm going to Dubai for Affiliate World.
Okay.
And then I'm speaking about like AI and performance marketing. So like how you can make your dollar work for you in terms of advertising. And then I am going to Miami for a manifesting conference with MindValley, and then New York.
You're all over. I love it.
Yeah, that's in Feb, March.
So exciting. So if anybody wants to know more about how to connect with you, you know, what's happening in the next few events, where's the best way that they could connect? What's the best way that they can reach out? What do you, or do you, where, you know, what other workshops do you have going on?
Instagram and LinkedIn. So Instagram and LinkedIn is where I'm most active. And you know, you can like reach out to me. I have an email newsletter where I usually post like marketing stuff. So I think this was mainly about like values and leadership and you know, just being more vulnerable and leading with the vulnerability. But what I actually talk about is marketing. So if you follow my newsletter, you'll basically learn a whole bunch of cool tips and tricks to like scale your business. But then if you follow me on Instagram, you'll find out where I'm speaking next, podcast, like what's happening, you know, if I'm traveling, and if you want to say hi, like you'll figure out which city I'm in and you can actually come and say hi. Maybe we have a coffee. Let's see.
Yes, and the marketing side, or the marketing side of your magic, I believe is already who you are. And I think that that's just like you said, it's that work is already showing up as a result of how MindValley is doing, how the company is doing. And I genuinely believe it's because of your leadership that that's where the organization has gone. And so the metrics and the specifics and those, like, you know, that's going to be stuff that people can Google and find out. But
Yes, that's true.
This stuff is really where people, from my perspective, actually get more to know about the brilliance behind all of that. So thank you for opening up in this capacity with me, and thank you for playing with that level of energy, because again, I know you came in here with like uncertainty and knowing and trusting, and I really appreciate that. So but I have one question before we go. If you had 3 days left to live, what would you do?
I had 3 days left to live. I would spend it with all my loved ones. Like literally, I would spend take my money. I would book a holiday for all my loved ones and just spend it with all my loved ones over a weekend. And then I would give the rest of my money to my brother and because my brother, I love him. So I give it all to my brother and tell my brother to invest in people's dreams. So like my dream is to create like a VC and a fund where I can invest in people's dreams, of people who don't have the money to spend and they don't have people that believe in their ideas, but they actually have a legitimate idea. I would want to help them grow that idea. So through like skill set and mentorship and then money investment into their idea.
You're a beautiful and amazing, inspiring woman. Thank you so much for your wisdom. I'm grateful for you. Do you have any last things you want to share? Any last statement?
The only thing I want to say is really, if you don't believe in yourself, no one will. So continue to believe in yourself. Don't doubt yourself. Don't second guess yourself, because it's all about making the best guess. Even if you're 90, not even 90, if 70% sure about the next step, take it and just keep moving forward, because that's going to get you there faster than anything else will.
You're a legend. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, and thank you so much for listening to The Resilient Minds. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please make sure to go comment and like and follow us on iTunes or Spotify, and please make sure that if you really love this, to share this episode, and make sure that you're inviting all your friends to like it as we continue to unfold what the beauty of our minds does, more importantly, how powerful our heart level of intelligence can be when we combine our heart and our brain together. And more importantly, make sure you take the time to take a look at what we're doing at Balanced Media Ventures and how we can actually really support you in doubling your impact, your income, and your influence, and how you can bring your life's greatest vision into your purpose and create it from that level of reality. Talk to you soon.